Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It is a Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. Locations across the state of Florida and right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. You need a HVAC company, folks? Give Comfort Temp Heating and Air. They're your number one local HVAC company. Give them a visit at comforttemp.com. We're supposed to have JC. We'll see if he shows up or not. Second portion of today's show, we'll have Kevin Brockway. We'll get his thoughts on the additions to the coaching staff, portal issue stuff going on, and also talk a little bit about the basketball game yesterday. Gators manhandle Colgate. If you missed it last night, the New England Patriots win again. Boy, Drake May's playing really good football. Jaguars go into the Mile High City and just wear out the Denver Broncos. So a lot of good stuff happening there. But we'll take your comments, your questions, and things of that nature today on the program. As I said, Kevin Brockway will be in the second portion. I guess we're still waiting on JC, not sure where he may be. We'd like to get y'all's thoughts on the college football playoffs. Obviously, if you're looking at it from a wagering standpoint, 3 underdogs covered in the 4 games. But the James Madison game was not very competitive. Obviously, Tulane did not play very well either. Alabama somehow finds a way to win that game. Oklahoma had complete control up 17-0. Alabama converts a 4th down, scores a touchdown, 17-7. Oklahoma still has control, driving the football. Mateer rolls left on a 3rd down. Wide open guy. It was a running back who got open downfield, drops it. Probably would have been a 40, 50-yard gain or a touchdown. Very next play, the punter drops the snap. Bama, they hold him to a field goal, and then kickoff, then a pick 6. So, boy, things unravel for the Sooners within a 4-minute period. So anyway. On YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, our man Art says, Shane, what are your thoughts on the strength coach Florida hired? Would have liked to get someone big school experience. That does not matter, in my opinion. Look, as I've said on this program multiple times, everybody does the same thing when it comes to lifting and running. Everybody in America. As I said, I didn't miss a game in my career. And I never lifted weights. We weren't required to lift weights as quarterbacks under Coach Spurrier. Do I wish I would have a little bit? Maybe. But look, if John Summerall thinks he's a good strength coach, I'm good with it. These coaches know more than we do when it comes to lifting weights. I know nothing about it, so I don't even know who they hired. I guess he came from Tulane, but Tulane just came out of the playoffs, so we'll look like that. Barone 71 says Alabama looked like they hit the magic mushroom like Super Mario and just destroyed OU after a lethargic start. Yeah, the start was terrible. Question here also, anyone surprised at Miami winning over A&M? I was playing golf during that game. Saw the last part of it, like the 4th quarter. Teams were struggling to score. A lot of missed field goals due to the wind conditions. 2 good football teams, and A&M had a chance to tie it up there at the end from, 5 or 6 yard line. And Marcel threw an interception, threw it a little behind the guy, a little late. But, look, Miami hit a couple of long runs that got them in scoring position. I don't know how Miami stacks up with Ohio State. We'll wait and see. Franklin on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, stole my take on Carson Beck as an NFL prospect. He'll probably be drafted late. He'll go to camp. I don't think he'll last in the NFL very long. Could be wrong, but I don't think he will personally. All right, let's get a couple of texts on the Titan and More text line. I guess JC's not showing up today. I don't know. Monty says, Shane, if the officials throw the flag for targeting against Miami at the end of the game, A&M would have won. I think they would have scored because it would have probably put the ball on about the 2-yard line, 1-yard line. Question is, would they have run the football? Because I don't think they had any timeouts at that time. But probably should have been called. Rick and Jupiter, I have a bit of a gripe with the college football playoff setup. The top-ranked teams don't get a home game like Ole Miss, Oregon, and TAMU did. To me, this is ridiculous. The top-ranked teams should get the extra revenue and home field advantage. Either replicate the NFL playoffs and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs or make all games on neutral sites. Just my observation. I do agree with that. You know, Ole Miss probably made $70 to $80 million that weekend for the city of Oxford. No telling what, you know, College Station and some of the other places made. But yes, it would be cool to see this round, you know, being played on the home sites. I think they're going to tweak a lot. I think the group of 5 will be out. As I said, I thought since Duke won the ACC, they should have been in. I don't know if they would have given a better game to an opponent or not, but they are a Power 4 school. So anyway, the Jaguars, a lot of people chiming in on the Jags. Yes, boy, I didn't get to see any of the game, but I saw the score. And you go into Mile High, which I think Denver had won like 10 or 11 straight. They put it on them for sure. And playing really, really good football right now. And wouldn't that be something if the Jags get like a first-round bye? I guess the Patriots have the best record in the AFC as we speak. Silent J says Tulane beat Duke. Yes, they did. But I mean, Duke won their conference. Miami didn't even win their conference. Let's not forget that. Miami didn't even play for their conference championship. Florida Boy on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, Shane, I could care less about star ratings anymore. Get me a QB that can play the QB position and throw completions. Very well said. I believe Aaron Philo will be in the portal. I think he's already said he's going to the portal. I believe he will be a Florida Gator. And I still think the Old Dominion quarterback will be a Florida Gator. At least they're going to try. Go watch tape on him. Good player. Really good player. We'll be fine there. I think Buster Faulkner does a phenomenal job scheming up people. Got a great track record. And we'll be fine. And don't forget about Tramel Jones, man. I think they like him a lot as well. So we'll see. It'll be a good battle in the spring. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. All right, let me get some on Facebook here real quick. I don't know where JC is. Bad communication skills. All right. You know who you better look out for in the NFL is the damn New England Patriots with Drake May. I'm telling you, he's very good. He was really good at North Carolina, but he's playing at an extremely high level in year 2. Cliff says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Rocco Beck is from Iowa State, is entering the portal. Yep, he's a Florida kid. Adam says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal and Law, Shane, Tramel Jones next year is going to have an opportunity to showcase his talents. He should have played against South Florida when Lagaway was playing so bad. He should have played in multiple games last year. Multiple. Andy, I thought about this too, Andy. Andy on Facebook Live says, Shane, that Bears comeback Saturday night remind me of a few of your unbelievable comebacks. Yeah, we, they had to get the onside kick, which that very rarely happens. And then they go down and score, force overtime. We did that against the Cleveland Browns. We scored 2 touchdowns in like 40-something seconds at the end of the game to force overtime and won it in overtime. But the Bears are playing really, really good football right now. John says the Pats and Broncos are tied at 12-3. Cliff says Pete Golding kind of took a shot at Lane after the game. He's been taking shots at Lane all week. You know, he didn't participate in the, they call it the Walk of Champions. It's kind of like the Gator Walk, because he just wanted to be all about the team. He took the basketball goal away on the sideline. I like what Pete's doing there. I know the fans are behind him 110%. It'd be interesting to see if they wear the powder blue. Well, they're going to be wearing white, but because he wanted to wear navy, the traditional Ole Miss uniform. It'd be interesting to see what they wear in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. They have to wear a white jersey, but they have 3 white jerseys. They have white jerseys with powder blue numbers, white with red numbers, white with navy numbers. All right, Reggie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, strength conditioning coach Tyler Miles has spent time with our Olympic teams. You don't go to that level being a bad strength and conditioning coach. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Reggie, but Tyler is the one that was under Coach Napier, if I'm not mistaken. That's not our new guy. But yes, look, I think strength and conditioning is very important. But as I stated, nobody has a secret ingredient that they're doing differently than any other strength and conditioning coach across America. Everybody does the same list. They do the same conditioning. They do the same sprinting. It's just some guys are just damn injury prone, or they just ain't tough, one or the other. Franklin on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Does Miami have a chance against Ohio State? Absolutely, they do. I like Ohio State's team better. But Miami just played, they kind of won the line of scrimmage. It was like an ugly football game, kind of carbon copies one another, those two teams, but they went into a hostile environment and found a way to win the game. Give them credit. Greg asked, and I don't know the answer to this, Greg, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, why 12-day layoff for the college playoffs? Well, some teams had a 21-day layoff until they played the other day. A lot of the games are going to be played on like January 1st and 2nd, or I think it's January 1st. So anyway, we got football coming up pretty soon, and Gator Man wants to know any rumors for what QBs we are bringing in. We are bringing in Aaron Follow, and then I think the Old Dominion quarterback. Florida Boy says, I like Aaron Follow, good player, and Colton Joseph from Old Dominion is a stud who could be next year's Trinidad Chambliss. I agree. Go watch him. He's a dual threat guy that can really run the football. Cruz says, curious what your thoughts are on John Mateer's mechanics. Like yourself, I was very high on him coming. Yeah, I mean, look, he still threw for like 300-something yards. He's kind of that quarterback that he's not going to be your typical drop back guy. He likes to run around and make plays, not only in the passing game, but rushing the football as well, because he's a violent runner, and he probably needs to protect himself a little bit more. But at times he gets off platform for no reason at all. I don't know why that is, but he does. All right, so I guess JC won't be showing up today, so let's get to this thing of sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. We'll have Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun talk a little Gator football and obviously Gator hoops. In 1894, the Amateur Golf Association, later renamed afterwards to the United States Golf Association. It's your USGA. That happened in 1894. Gator Man says, has the Colton Joseph news been announced, or was this the breaking announcement? I don't break news. They talked about this all over Twitter last week about him possibly coming to Gainesville. Like I said, I don't know if it'll happen or not. I think they want to get 2 quarterbacks out of the portal if possible. So you'll see Tramel Jones. I am about 99.9% sure Aaron Follow will be here. And then maybe Colton Joseph. So those 3 would be competing to be your quarterback next year for the Gators. MSRK said Mateer's like Bo Nix, good runner, average passer. Yeah, I really think his thumb issue is still bothering him. Before that thumb injury, he threw the ball really, really accurately. Not so much anymore. All right, here's a text on the Titan More text line from William. He wants to get my thoughts on the Jaguars. How were they able to turn it around so quickly? Well, your quarterback's playing at a high level. That helps. The coach knows what he's doing, man. He's got a good feel for his team. Looks like he's a players type coach, and he's calling good ball plays. And I didn't think they would. People that are close to the Jaguars were very uncertain about their defense leading into the season, but I think they've gotten better over time. And but man, what a good win that was for them. All right, AU Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, what do you think will be discussed when Ball and Summerall meet? I think they'll be meeting this week, I was told. I don't know the answer to that, AU Gator. I mean, I guess it's a money thing. I think he knows Summerall wants him on the team. He knows he's going to get a lot of touches if he's a Gator. There's no guarantee you're going to get a lot of touches if you go to Texas or somewhere else. So I still feel pretty good. He'll be a Gator. Gator Man says, won with the Patriots money line last night. Anyone like the Colts money line tonight? I don't even know who the Colts are playing. I'm going to look right now. Monday Night Football, we got Phillip Rivers hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Okay. Colts probably need to win. They're at 8-6. I don't know where they stand in the playoffs. 49ers are 10-4, so it should be a good one tonight. They're in Indy. Florida Boy says, remember, folks, Trask was a 3-star coming out, and also Jaden Ball's a 3-star. 5-star QBs are overrated. Well, there's some good ones out there, but there's just, when it comes to these ratings, these publications that rate these kids, obviously they watch some tape on them, but it's mostly a lot of their measurables and things of that nature. So all you got to do is turn on the tape. You can tell if guys can play or not. It ain't that damn hard. Some people make it harder than it is. Major collapse for the Bucks. They've lost 6 out of the last 7. Yeah, I guess the Panthers are leading that division now. A good win for them. Baron71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, you often see Georgia agent, a GA agent. I don't know if that's Georgia or GA agent, a guy who's ranked around 270 who immediately bumps up to a 50, 100 spots, all because he committed to Georgia. The recruiting ranking guys are clueless. Yeah, I don't get into all that. Does nothing for me. So we'll have Kevin Brockway here shortly. I apologize. I was ready to hear JC's rant on the college football playoffs. Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, it's sad that John Summerall lost his dad last Thursday. How do we not know about it? Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize. I think his dad was at his press conference when he was introduced as our coach. I want to say, I know for a fact his dad was at their championship game when they beat North. I don't know if he'd been sick or what, but yeah, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Look, listen, that guy's been through a lot in a short period of time here, trying to get a team ready to play in the college football playoffs, making sure their recruiting class stays together, then doing what he had to do for the Gators, then having his dad pass away. Handled it very well, then made a great donation. I don't know if people saw this. I think he donated $100,000 or a couple $100,000 to the Tulane football program. Very classy act. Ace on Facebook Live. Good morning, QB. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are as well. I'm really surprised all the negativity on these Gator websites like Gator Nation and everything. I think John Summerall is putting together quite impressive staff. What are your thoughts? I like it. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know any of his coaches other than Buster Faulkner. I don't think it matters, though. I know. Well, I take that back. I know Bam Hardman. I think he hired a really good defensive coordinator. That's important. And he hired a damn good offensive coordinator. That's more important. The other position coaches that he has relationships with in some capacity. Look, Don Summerall is coming here to win football games. He's going to try to put together the best staff and the best team he can. So whether some website doesn't like it, I don't care, because all they care, most of the websites, they care about brand names of coaches, big names, I guess I should say. And then all they care about are these 5-star player here, 5-star player there, leaving or whatever. It does not matter. If you look at the people that have entered the transfer portal for the Gators, please tell me one player on there that really keeps you awake at night that we're losing. I can't find one. If somebody has one, please let me know. Troutwine was a home run as well. Great track record, former player. He's going to bring some damn Penn State linemen with him. You can bank on that. Todd wants to know, Shane, spring sports are right around the corner. He plans on having a guest talk baseball, softball. Yeah, we'll have Tim Walton on, and we'll have Sully on as well when it gets closer to their season. None of that really kicks off on our program until football's all over. Reggie wants to know how on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, what would I grade this coaching staff hiring? Look, again, I don't know a lot of these coaches. I think the offense scores A+++++, and the defense coordinator, I'd say an A as well. He's been in the league a long time. They've always had good defenses at Kentucky. I like what he's doing. I trust what he's doing. I'm going to go with what he knows. He knows a hell of a lot more than I do. Barone71 says if Jaden Ball was eligible for the NFL, he'd be drafted. So pay the guy the money because you're getting an NFL player for that money, and like an unproven commodity like DJ was the past 2 years. I do agree with that to a point, Barone. If you're talking NFL and running backs, they don't pay a lot for their running backs in that league because you can find more. I don't know what Jaden Ball is being offered by other teams. I don't know. We have offered him, but you got to be careful that you don't overpay, because I do like some of our young backs. Whenever Meyer wanted to introduce his high-quality tequila to the Gator Nation, he made sure to get it to the HBC and his team at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Dorn's Liquors. Go beyond with smooth Los Landeros tequila. I agree right here with Kanye Ron says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Pump. I feel Summerall will get us tough in the trenches. Agree 100% on that. We're going to have some mean dudes in the trenches, and they're going to get after it. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, I like the strength and conditioning coach. No more college roommates or tats and motorcycles. We got a guy that risked his life for our country. Can't tell me he doesn't have that dog in him. Very cool. Rusty Witt is his name, I believe. Dan says here, this is interesting, talking about the on-campus playoff games. He says, OU sent out an email the day before their game against Alabama saying they still had tickets. Yeah, that is surprising. Very, very surprising. AU Gator says, Summerall said, losing is not okay. Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw his, I guess it was his post-game press conference after the Ole Miss game. I would assume that was when it was. Obviously, he was talking about his dad. He was not happy with the way his team played. Proud of his team to get to the playoffs and win their conference championship. But look, this guy hates losing, and you want that in a coach. It reminds me of my coach. He absolutely hated to lose. Text here on the Titan No More text line from James. He said, Shane, out of the young NFL quarterbacks, who do you like the best? I'm not sure what young means. If we're going to go with like second-year guys, Drake May, obviously. Caleb Williams is playing he's playing exactly how I thought he was going to play. boy, he's making plays left and right. He's got a great play caller and Ben Johnson. Obviously, Jaden Daniels I like, but he's been injured majority of the year. But the NFL's got a lot of good young quarterbacks. They're fun to watch, and it's been a fun year. I think mainly because there's some new teams that haven't been in the hunt in quite some time. Now they are. But anyway, let's take a quick time out. Come back. We'll get Kevin Brockway's thoughts on the coaching staff, portal, and Gator basketball. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Coach, you know what always impressed me, how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football. Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and J.F. Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Crackers is a brand for original Floridians, great food, southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida. And also check them out at Florida Cracker Oyster Bar in Keystone Heights. Check them out at floridacracker.com. Back to the Titan Emerald Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Inn. We're joined by the Gainesville Sun's Kevin Brockway. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing, bud?
Good morning, Shane. How are you?
Not too bad. All right, let's start college football playoffs. I know you're a happy camper being a Miami Hurricane graduate. Kind kind of an ugly football game, very windy conditions, missed field goals, and Canes made a couple plays down the stretch to win it.
Yeah, it was one of those games, Shane, where I think, and yeah, I think you saw this in the Oklahoma Alabama game too, in terms of the elements coming into play, because it's pretty windy there also. And, Tate Sandell, who's a Groves Award winner, missed some kicks on Friday night. But yeah, 30-mile-an-hour winds, not much of a passing game to speak of from both teams. Marcel Reed, but Miami controlled the line of scrimmage, and that was, there was a lot of big talk going in, on both sides. Texas A&M, I think one of their offensive linemen said, Ruben Baden wasn't going to be a factor. He had 3 sacks and a blocked field goal. But it was, you could tell kind of as the game wore on, Miami's strategy on leaning on the running game played off. Mark Fletcher had a huge game. He had 172 yards rushing. So obviously a good win for Miami, but it'll be interesting going forward. Now, as I said, when, with the elements, and you get this in late December with campus sites, now you go to the Cotton Bowl, the game's in Jerry World, it's in the Dome. So you don't have those factors. So it'll be interesting to see, if Miami can, be a little more balanced, mix it up with their passing game, get their kicking game right in a dome stadium as opposed to. But certainly too in that matchup with Ohio State, line of scrimmage becomes paramount again, and we know that Ohio State is, Ohio State teams like Ohio State and Miami are teams that are built to play in the SEC from a line of scrimmage standpoint, and that's the reason why they do well in their conferences is there are not a lot of teams like that. But certainly Miami stood toe to toe with an SEC team, and got Oklahoma too. They were up 17-0 in that game and just kind of gave that game away. A lot of mistakes in the second half, and a good win for Kalen DeBoer as well.
Yeah, so I've had a bunch of people chime in earlier in the first part of the program, Kevin, talking about like these top 4 seeds should host a home game, right? Do you think like the Ohio State Miami game should be played at the in Columbus, Ohio? Do you like that, or do you like them going to starting the bowls now?
I think when you get to the quarterfinal round, I think you want at least the football to be played in an optimal condition, right? But we'll see how the playoff transpires, because they go to 16 teams. You'll have that, right? Because you'll have 1 versus 16, 2 versus. You'll have the campus sites for the top 4 if they expand it. But I think for now, when you get to that quarterfinal round, I think you kind of want it at places where the football is going to be optimal, which is warm weather sites, dome stadiums, and that's what the bowl provide. And you don't want to devalue. The bowl structure is already devalued enough as it is too. It was interesting. I filled in to cover the Gasparilla Bowl again, believe it or not, because we had some sister papers in North Carolina. So I went to that NC State Memphis game. They announced 13,000. It was more like 1,300 at Raymond James. I mean, it was just brutal. I mean, it was, there was, and 2 out-of-state teams, and you're playing in a, really low-tier bowl game. And, right now, a lot of these bowls are in serious trouble, and it's going to be interesting to see in the next 3 to 5 years how much of these bowls get phased out, unless you expand the playoff and you include them in the playoff format.
A couple of people before we move on from Miami. Baron71 on YouTube, brought to you by Claude Plummer, says, can you ask Kevin where he grew up and why he went to Miami? Just curious if he's a Northeast guy like majority of the school's enrollment.
Yes, I am. And it's kind of interesting because they set a lot of literature up, and I was one of those guys that I wasn't good enough to get into Syracuse journalism program, but Miami had a pretty strong program. Susie Culber, Dan Lebitard, Michelle Kaufman. There were a lot of good journalism, journalists that went there. Roy Firestone. So I was attracted to it to go down there for journalism school. First, I thought I wanted to go into TV, and it's amazing full circle how it comes like 30 years later. Now everyone's on TV in some form or fashion. But went down there, made my bones down there, and he's right. Half of my dorm mates and suite mates, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, they really attracted a lot of those out-of-state students. They gave us generous financial aid, which I think helped. I got like a Bowman Ash scholarship, which was like $7,500 a year at the time. Because even back then, 30 years ago, it was 20 grand. Now I'm hearing it's like 80, 90 grand a year to go to school there. It's just ridiculous.
Wasn't Jill Arrington I think she was the sideline reporter back when I played. Wasn't she in Miami?
She was, yes. We went.
Graduate?
We had journalism classes together. She was Tiffany Arrington when we were in college, and I dated one of her sorority sisters. She was Delta Gamma, but I think they told her to change her name from Tiffany to Jill for television. I think she was Tiffany Jill Arrington. Her father was an NFL quarterback, Richard Arrington. He played for the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. What stood out in the other game? I mean, give me your thoughts. Group of Five needs to have their own national championship brackets.
I agree, and I think that look, James Madison scored a little bit, right? They looked like they were at least somewhat competitive. You just felt bad for John Summerall and Tulane. Ole Miss looked like a team that they were on the mission to prove that they could win without Lane, and they really poured it on early in that game. And it was, I think it was tough sledding for John, and I think that, again, if people bring it up, they try to say that they're not distracted, but we've seen it over history, right? This goes all the way back to Mark Richt. When he was the offensive coordinator at Florida State, and he only scored, I think, 3 or 7 points against Oklahoma in the national title game. It is so hard to try to do two jobs at once, and that might have shown on the field a little bit too for Tulane, I think, in that game. But obviously, Coach Summerall will be here now, can focus and get to work, and we already saw the mass exodus of some Tulane coaches that. That were, I guess, at least reported on last night. They'll be announced soon that are going to be joining this Florida staff.
Yeah, real quick, before we talk about that, a team you covered for a long time, the Indiana Hoosiers, are the number 1 seed. They will be playing Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Give me your early thoughts on that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, the interesting storyline, right, is Cignetti worked for Nick Saban at Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer I covered when he was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. But from an on-field standpoint, I mean, everyone underestimates Indiana all the time, and they always find a way to pull through. I do think that Alabama, has a chance, but they're going to have to play one of those, perfect mistake-free games. I do think that they can, line up on the line of scrimmage and go toe-to-toe with Indiana, certainly. But Indiana's, they've got some guys on defense that can really cause problems. And, we know Mendoza is a quarterback that rises to the occasion. He's not necessarily, a guy that's going to put up huge numbers. But Cignetti will have him disciplined. He'll have him playing hard in that game. There's certainly, I think Indiana is another one of those teams that wants to prove, once and for all that they belong. Certainly they had the bad taste in their mouths last year from the CFP, lost to Notre Dame. So I think this sets up as a good opportunity for Indiana to move on. But we'll see. I mean, Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, sometimes, certainly we saw with Ohio State last year, sometimes the teams that have the day off at the bye, they kind of let down a little bit. So maybe there'll be an opportunity there for, certainly, Alabama to spring an upset.
Well, yeah, none of the teams that got a bye won a game last year, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes this year. Text here from James on the Titanamar text line. He wants to go ahead and get your thoughts on the coaching staff, what has been reported. Like, you don't have to necessarily give us a grade, but your thoughts on who he's hired so far.
Yeah, well, I think certainly, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, Craddock and Gasparotto, and filling them in roles that are, inside linebacker and quarterback coach. You're not making them the OC and the DC, but because they have that experience, I think that's certainly helpful, and they can certainly add a lot to the room as tradition position coaches. I really like the special teams coordinator hire, Witt. I think he's a guy that he was a Green Beret in the Army, right? And had a lot of had previous Power 4 strength and conditioning experience at Texas Tech. As coach at Louisiana. Before Billy Napier got there, obviously, and then worked with Summerall at Troy and Tulane. So I think that's certainly a good move, and nice to bring Bam Hardman back, right? I think that's another,
Mm-hmm.
having another former Gator on the staff is certainly a plus. And Galante, the special teams coach, you look at the punters and the kicker, two guys that are, all AC American Conference guys. I think that certainly is interesting as well. And if you can bring those guys with you, I think they both have eligibility remaining. Um, that would certainly help in the punter and kicker, category, considering you're losing both Doman and Trey Smack this year.
Greg, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. Rumor is Texas is offering Ball $1.5 million. Florida's offering $1.25 million. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, there are reports that Ball is going to meet with the coaching staff at some point this week, I believe. Do you think he's a Gator, or does he go elsewhere?
I know. I think the dad wants him to stay at Florida. I think the family feels comfortable with him being there, and I think that could factor into the decision as well. I don't know if the Jaluk relationship is necessarily as strong as some people think. So I think those are some things that work in Florida's favor. But I do think ultimately, it'll be Jaden's decision. The running backs coach is going to come into play in this too. Does he believe in the running backs coach, who the running backs coach is going to be? Certainly a lot of people think that it could be the running backs coach from Texas, but we'll see how that, all plays out, certainly, in the next couple of days. I think it's imperative. I think from a morale standpoint, you don't want to lose too many guys. They locked up Miles Graham. I think Jaden is a guy that, you're going to want to keep and you're going to want to build around because he brings a good work ethic too. And, he brings a lot to the table in terms of his athleticism, his skill, and his ability. And a lot of players, I think, believe in him here. I think it would certainly be. Some people say running backs are a dime a dozen, but I think he showed that this is a guy that works, develops, and can be a pretty special player if he comes back next year.
Yeah, he just needs to sit down and talk to Buster Faulkner about how many carries he needs a game. Because the running back coach ain't gonna be calling the plays; it's gonna be Buster. that's who he needs to talk to the most. But I think John Summerall knows what kind of player he is. They'll do everything they can to keep him, in my opinion. Kevin, obviously I talked about it earlier, quarterbacks out of the portal. I believe Aaron Follow will be a Gator. There's also talk about the Old Dominion quarterback. I don't know if you know much about Colton Joseph. I watched a lot of him the last few days, and I'm pretty damn impressed. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah, no question. And he looked pretty good certainly in the Cure Bowl. But I think that somebody threw out Rocco Beck's name too, which is interesting. Obviously the Ohio State guy. He's from Tampa, right? And his father, obviously Anthony Beck, was a former tight end, played for the Jets, played for West Virginia. But Rocco Beck is another intriguing guy. I don't know if he goes with Matt Campbell to Penn State, but if he doesn't, apparently I think his girlfriend might be here or something, or there's some talk about that. So I mean, he's another guy that you could look at as well. And I don't know if they'll look at Retzlaff at all. Mensah I think is obviously possibly going to the NFL. So draft. So I think that certainly those guys, Colton Joseph and Philo will be interesting. But I have heard rumblings that the staff is very high on Tramel Jones as well. So I think it'll be an open competition either way. Certainly. I think it'll be interesting, and I think that's good because you don't have the entitlement. The best person is going to go out there and win the job. And then you go into the 2026 season with someone that's, pretty fired up and motivated and battle tested in practice.
Our last football question before we get to basketball.
Yeah.
Barone said he wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Would Kevin want DJ Lagway at Miami as quarterback?
No. No, I don't know. No, listen, I would think that if you do get DJ Lagway, you got to get him right, both physically and mentally. And I don't know if that means a redshirt year or what you do with him in that way. But I would prefer Sam Levitt. Definitely. 9 days out of 10, and I think Miami will figure it out, and they'll certainly do the right thing. But I think if you bring in DJ Lagway, I mean, I think you've really got to work with him in a lot of levels. To get him, certainly playing to that level, and I think Miami wants more of a pro style quarterback than a dual threat anyway, and you got Malachi Tony there to handle a lot of the Wildcat stuff, and I think that's why Levitt would certainly be a guy that could fit in what they want to do.
All right, Hoops. They get a big win yesterday against Colgate. Do you like what you've seen in the last couple of games? We know the talent. I mean, the level of competition has not been what we played earlier in the season. But just give me your thoughts on the team so far.
Yeah, I think they're getting a little more confident. I mean, the shooting still isn't quite there yet. Obviously, the 3-point shooting. I think it's not going to be a 3-point shooting team of last year, for sure. But I do think that he is a guy who whether this team is a team that's going to certainly be in the mix of the SEC of certainly having to figure that out. And I think they're going to throw Shane, they're going to throw a lot of zone defenses. Teams are going to throw a lot of zone defenses at Florida. I think it's going to be up for Florida to adjust. I think the good thing about the zone, if you see a lot of zones though, is that it's going to open up some offensive rebounding opportunities for this team, which is something this team does well. But the perimeter shooting is still obviously the big concern going into the season.
Yeah, that's true. And, we've seen some added players in the rotation. Obviously, Isaiah Brown played a little bit more. The transfer from Sacramento State. I was telling you before you came on, Kevin, I was at one scrimmage, and I was asking Chris Harry because I was sitting next to him. I was like, who's number 8? I said, he's a damn good player. I mean, he was playing great in this scrimmage. I was there. Didn't really see him until the last couple of games. Just your thoughts on the guys that Florida needs to up their game coming off the bench.
Oh yeah, Kovacic is an interesting guy. He was kind of a late transfer from Sacramento State, and he is someone that he's got a little bit of an upper body on him. I think he's strong enough to handle the SEC. Did some good things in the St. Francis game, knocked down a 3. Had some rebounds in the Colgate game. So he's someone that I think is definitely worth monitoring and worth watching going forward to be that 8th guy. And Isaiah Brown, obviously CJ Ingram. Alex Lloyd looks like he's not quite ready. I think he needs more time, and it's kind of interesting because he had a really good summer. Alex did, but it hasn't translated on the court so far. I mean, he really struggled in that St. Francis game with turnovers and defense too, and communication. Apparently, that's an issue. So I think you'll see CJ Ingram, Isaiah Brown, and Kovacic, in the mix. Yeah, but they're going to need production from their bench in SEC play for sure. That's going to be tremendously important. That was such a luxury of that team last year in the national championship. The number of guys that came off the bench and there was no real drop off with Hawk and Tommy Hawk and Denzel Aberdeen, 2 guys that could have started for a lot of other SEC teams. You've got Klavchar and you've got Micah Hanlogden as the 6 and 7 guys, but you're going to need to probably establish a little more depth there. And we'll see about AJ Brown and if he's ever ready or if they decide to redshirt him coming off the shoulder surgery.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll get into conference play in about a week or so. Who in the SEC has caught your eye, and maybe who's been disappointing so far?
Well, Vandy certainly is a team that looks like that they're going to be really tough, and they beat Memphis, and they're a team that. I think Arkansas has played tough. I think Alabama with Phylon has a lot of talent, and that's going to be a big game on Super Bowl Sunday on the 1st when they come to the O'Connell Center. That's going to be a game that is going to be worth watching. Arkansas looks pretty good, so. A few teams, but not nearly as strong a conference as last year, which I think, will benefit Florida. And Florida will be in the mix. Kentucky looks like they're starting to right themselves a little bit too. They beat St. John's. They beat Indiana. the last couple of weeks. So they're starting to get a little better as well, and you can't count them out. And you can't count out Rick Barnes at Tennessee as well.
Yeah, Drew on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Pond, wants to know where Jawan Siders, the running back coach, at. I want to say he's at Notre Dame, isn't he?
Think so, yeah. Jawan Sider.
He was at Penn State. I think he was at Penn State and then went to Notre Dame last year, or maybe 2 years ago. But I'm pretty sure that's where he's at. Kevin, I wanted to get your thoughts. You mentioned the Kentucky Wildcats. Obviously, they've had some poor outings, but they've played much better here the last couple of weeks. They, as you said, they beat Indiana and they beat a really good St. John's team. Have they had a bunch of people injured? Did they get some guys back? What's made them play better lately?
Yeah, some guys back from injury for sure have certainly helped, and I think just a little continuity too, because they were a team that, again, a lot of some transfers thrown in the mix, some younger players, so they're starting to, I think, gel on the court a little better for sure. And listen, Owe is a very talented guy, and he's someone that's certainly was preseason conference player of the year for a reason. He's someone that's going to be a handful, and Denzel's been up and down certainly there as well, but they're going to be, they'll be a tough out, and certainly Mark Pope, it's interesting, a couple of weeks ago was really facing the wrath with the 4 losses, but much like Florida, I think they're starting to figure some things out a little bit, and it'll be an interesting race in the SEC for sure coming up.
Yeah. Last thing, who's the best team in America? Arizona or Michigan?
I really like Michigan. I like what Dusty's doing. I think Purdue and Houston. I mean, Houston just took care of Arkansas. They're going to be in the mix as well. And listen, Duke. We'll see about Florida. We'll see if they can figure things out the second half of the season. They are still the defending national champions. I've said all along the key is to win the SEC, to get the top 4 seed, and to play in Tampa, because 8-0 since 2003, playing in the state in the NCAA tournament, there's huge value in that. So if you can get that top 4 seed, either win the SEC regular season, win the SEC tournament, put yourself in that position. Then you get to the second week of the NCAA tournament, and then from there, anything can happen depending on the matchups and where your bracket is. So,
yeah. Kevin, great stuff as always. Appreciate your time. Happy holidays. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, thank you.
Kevin Brockway joins us on the Titan Moore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. The Pouncey twins provide all of Gator Nation with the highest quality liqueurs made by J.F. Hayden Craft Liqueurs. Find your favorite flavors at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Thanks for everybody joining the program. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.